Are there things that you want to accomplish in your life? You know, things that you would regret and second guess if you didn't achieve them. For me, it's to run a 2:45 marathon. It's 2019, I'm 32, and I just ran a 3 hour and 31-minute marathon. What if I never get faster? What if I don't get that 2:45? Years later, I'll be sitting on my couch with my destroyed knees, filled with a bunch of regrets and what ifs. What would you do if you felt like your potential was slipping away? 4 years later, I finally devised a plan to go for that 2:45 in the spring of 2024. Little did I know that journey came with a ton of unexpected twists and turns. Look, it's March of 2023. I had just gotten engaged and I didn't have time to plan my training plan for the next 7 to 8 months. And besides that, I had been self-coaching myself for years and I still couldn't get to my goal. Okay, so desperate, I actually sought out a coach and I found Dave, a really highly accomplished marathoner. Dave was confident in me, probably more than myself, which actually made me feel hopeful again. And we identified a race to run in February of 2024. It was a local race, so it should be pretty doable to do. But then 2 months before it was supposed to happen, it got canceled. Now I had to scramble. I had to find another race, something that was close enough to where I lived, but also didn't cost a lot and didn't take any time away from the planning. And now at this point, it had to be after my wedding. Well, enter the 2024 Delaware Marathon. Okay, so small hiccup, Dave and I had to readjust the training plan that I had. And one of the most crucial things that we did was incorporate weight training. The thing about lifting weights is that it's really good to build that strength and to help prevent injuries. But I never really had incorporated it properly into my training plan. It was stuff like squats and calf raises and other dynamic types of exercises, focusing on repetitions instead of the actual weight itself. A key part of my training this time was to do multiple time trials and races. So that included a 5K, 2 10K time trials, and a local half marathon that I did. The good thing about incorporating these types of stressors on your body, especially during training, it not only gets your body focused and prepared to run that type of race, it also gets you mentally focused as well. But one thing was a problem during all this. I found that sometimes in the last bit of these races, my heart rate would drop, but my effort felt incredibly high. And I had no idea what this was. Luckily, Dave was able to figure it out. And it's something called central fatigue. And basically, think of it like this. There are two different ways your muscles can get tired. One way is that your muscles are exerting so much effort that they start, building up more lactic acid and it's harder for it to push off of the ground. Another way is that your brain sending the signals to your legs to push off. Central fatigue is a type of fatigue where your brain sends the signal and it takes more energy for that signal to transfer. Okay, so how do you deal with this? There are a few different ways, as Dave told me. I could increase the mileage, we could increase the speed. We actually went with a combination of both. But one of the best things that happened was in February of 2024. I ran a 10K time trial and I felt great through the whole thing. Not only that, I ran a PR in a time trial. For any of you who are experienced runners, you know that running a PR in a time trial is a big deal. You're not really supposed to do that. And then 2 weeks later, disaster. I'm finishing up my last 400 repeat and snap. I felt it in my leg and I had pulled a muscle. And not only that, my wedding was about 6 weeks away. So by the time I recovered from that injury, I didn't have enough time to ramp up because my wedding was going to, understandably, interfere with that training. This killed my confidence, but that wasn't the worst part. When we started ramping back up, there were a couple of real key workouts that I had to run, and I totally bombed both of them. And each failure felt like another nail in the coffin. But the worst part of my training hadn't even come yet. It was the taper week. And I know what most of you think. Taper is supposed to be easy, all the easy runs and stuff like that. However, I learned something about carb loading that I don't think a lot of people know, which is that after talking with Dave, the goal was to eat 600 grams of carbs a day. And it was supposed to be simple carbs. Guys, this was the hardest thing I have ever done. During the week, I've tried to make myself mentally relaxed, and I actually felt pretty good during my shakeout run. And then race day happened. Less than a quarter of a mile in, my water bottles fell out of my belt. and I had to hold on to them the whole way. Also, I was late to the start. I wasn't actually in a position where I wanted to be in. So I had to also run starting in a back spot. Despite all this, I kept calm. And then me and about 4 other guys were sent the wrong direction, and we ended up running an extra half mile. Despite all this, I didn't curse, I didn't get mad. I stayed focused, and I stayed with this running group. I just remembered what Dave's words were. The night before, Dave sent me a really nice note, and in it he talked about how races are more a celebration, a culmination of everything, and that's a good way to keep that in your mind as a way to stay positive and to overcome certain obstacles. Unfortunately, during this race, my nutritional plan suffered completely, and I couldn't hold on to my water bottles anymore by the halfway point. In fact, I threw them on the ground saying, I can't fucking carry these things anymore. Despite all this, I never hit the wall mentally. And when I crossed the finish line, 2 hours and 49 minutes. Honestly, I was really happy with this race. My process actually went pretty well, and I was really excited about how well I mentally hung in there. And I also was running pretty much with discomfort the whole race, which I didn't know I could actually do. And I actually never thought I could ever break 250 before. But now I had a choice. Do I stay content or do I try again? It was then that all the what ifs started creeping back in again. What if I hadn't gone in the wrong direction? What if I didn't have to go to the bathroom? 245 was right there. I was right there. F it, let's run it back. I quickly looked for another race in the fall, and it didn't take me a lot of time to find one. The 2024 Marine Corps Marathon. A good local big race that has about 16 to 20,000 people who run it every year. And I had just enough time, 5 months of training. Unfortunately, huge problem. Running in the DC area is brutal. Have you ever tried running in a sauna? Because that's kind of what it was like. Great, now my long runs had to be on the treadmill, 2+ hours. But I was going to get my goal. But then in June, another problem happened. I got diagnosed with COVID, which threw me off. And then I ended up missing a 10K time trial. Despite that, 2 months later, I ran it 36:40, 20-second PR. At this point, I felt good. But the last 6 weeks were really challenging. I was supposed to run on a relay team, but my leg got canceled. And that 10K PR, when I looked at the projections for that, I was way slower for the marathon, which really put some doubt in my mind. It actually made me think, was I really ready? 2 weeks before race day, my poor workouts culminated in a brutal key long run, 3 by 10K at marathon pace. I didn't really complete it, but I survived it, and that left me even more uncertain as to what I could do. Honestly, the morning the race came around, I didn't feel prepared at all. Weighed down by that nagging worry that maybe I was sick, wondering if I should just keep sleeping in my hotel bed instead of actually getting up. But I knew my family would be out there, my friends would be cheering me on, and I had to go. But the chaos started really early. The shuttle that was supposed to take us to the start line went the wrong direction. And then it ended up dropping us a mile before the start, with 15 minutes left before the start was gonna happen. Without a warm-up, I just went as fast as I could, dropped my stuff off, and I still didn't end up where I was. In the Marine Corps Marathon, I was actually a seated runner, which meant I had a corral that I was gonna start with, and I missed my corral. So now I was running really far behind. In fact, I had to weave back and forth between everybody. Any vision of a smooth start was totally toast. So for the first 8 miles was a scramble, weaving in and out, trying to avoid people. And then I finally broke out of it, and weirdly enough, a familiar calm came back to mind. Celebrate my run. Be in the moment. Don't think about future miles. Think about this. And honestly, that start was actually really helpful with that, because I couldn't think about my watch at all. I couldn't think about my time at all. And you know what? Fuck it, I decided to have some fun. Halfway through, I started singing Bon Jovi's Living on a Prayer. That one part, you know it. And other people thought it was funny and some joined in. All I wanted to do was just reach the next mile marker feeling good. And then with about 10K left, I thought to myself, now the race really starts. And I picked it up even more. And then I hit mile 24. I looked down on my watch and I was pretty sure I had it. Pushed on through. 4 of my last 6 miles were under 6-minute pace. And I crossed the line in 2 hours, 43 minutes, and 27 seconds. Honestly, I thought achieving this goal would make me feel great. Like I had finally accomplished the thing I had wanted to. Like I finally had gotten into that real special club. Instead, I started thinking, now what? I achieved my lifetime goal of what I wanted to do. So what was beyond that? And honestly, for the first time in my life, in my running life, in the 20 plus years I've been doing this, I felt like I was free from the pressures of the clock. Now I could ask myself new questions after 11 marathons. Do I enjoy running them? Do I enjoy running marathons for the love of running? And what would that even look like? Honestly, running has been such a framework for me in my life, pushing me with each goal, pushing me further with each goal I've set. But now I could see the freedom to run without that constant measuring stick. Looking back, I realized running had always been more than just a series of goals. It's a journey, a ritual, a release. It's a shared experience with those around you, an isolating struggle that feels communal as well as personal at the same time. Running is about finding something within yourself that you never knew was there. It's community, it's isolation, it's joy, it's pain, it's every high and every low of the human experience, packed into each mile. And that's why, for me, running is the greatest sport in the world. And now, without that constant pressure on my shoulders, I'm ready to run marathons. Not just to beat the clock, but to keep discovering that joy over and over again.